with the amount of footage that you produce, having more and more cheap cameras available.
Cinema 5D Stage at Photo+Adventure is brought to you by Blackmagic Design, creating amazing solutions for film, post-production and television. Rotolight, advanced LED lighting, and Canon, live for the story.
Welcome from the Cinema 5D Stage at Photo+Adventure 2019. It's my pleasure to introduce Robert Krüger from Kyno and Wolfram Zöttl, DoP. So you guys actually will talk about post-production, how to deal with your assets after you've shot your piece, how to media manage, and that's what Kyno is for.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm just gonna hand it to you guys. Just take it from here and see you in half an hour.
Hi. So first of all, thanks Robert for having me here. We actually got together because we had a problem. I had a problem, a big problem. I usually have a problem with computers anyway because they never work when I use them. And I shoot a lot of stuff. And I'm shooting a portrait, a personal portrait about a businessman for about a year now. And we have about 35,000 assets. So that's quite a number of clips and things. And we were looking, my editor is sitting somewhere far away from here, and I'm sitting some miles away from him. So media management becomes a very important issue for us. We had more than 100 interviews taken, more than an hour. So all transcribers and workers for us need to be in one source and one clip. So we were looking for a software that would support and help us to media manage all that. And another issue was PC or Mac. What's your gist on it? So we had to find one that works on all the platforms. And we got in contact with this wonderful software, Kyno, which helped us a lot in the process. It's one of the most amazing things that I have experienced within my shooting time. So, what is Kyno? Do you want to tell us what Kyno physically is, first of all?
Yes, it's always quite a challenge to describe it in one sentence. I'll try it in 3 or 4. Kyno is essentially the piece of software that solves your problems between camera and edit, trying to eliminate all the repetitive and very time-consuming tasks. And with digital video, metadata becomes more and more important, especially with the amount of footage that you produce, having more and more cheap cameras available. So Kyno is essentially a Swiss Army knife for these workflow steps.
So let me take it over from there and let's look at the surface of this software. It looks like there's nothing there, right? So I have my huge RAID, which is about 40 terabytes of data, and I have it hooked up and you can see my source drive and my Drobo, which is the RAID. Usually what you start with chips and clips is subfolders and folders and subfolders and everything, and you need to organize all that media. First of all, which I did not even know when I got the first Kyno version, is that Kyno helps you to transfer the footage off your source clips, the chips from the camera or the hard drives. And it does checksum copying. So that means that you're always safe with copying the files over to your RAID, your data storage, or whatever. So let me look at my files here so that I can show you what sold it for me. So here you can see all the media that we have organized in archives, which archives are responsible for the backup process. And you can see I actually have no asset there. So I go to my shooting stuff and I see there is no asset there. This is weird. So now I need to go actually into all the subclips, usually with Explorer, and see where all my files are. And that is quite difficult. But this software helps you. You just go into that folder and you press one button, and what the software does immediately It shows you everything that is underneath that folder structure. So that's cool. One click shows you everything. That's usually sometimes a lot too much. But therefore, those guys were great in developing filters and helping tools for us. They work with metadata. Which kind of metadata can you work with on Kyno?
We combine the metadata that comes straight from the camera, like frame rate and resolution, all these things. But if you start adding your own metadata, which is key to a very efficient post-production workflow, like ratings, descriptions, or time-based metadata like tags and subclips, then we combine this metadata and you can essentially filter by combinations of any of those types of metadata.
So let's look into that for now. I see I have a lot of audio clips, which I can play directly in the software. We don't have the audio hooked up yet, so what you can do is, first of all, you can select either if you have audio, video, or images. So you can use graphics, photographs, everything it can show you. But let me go to the video part of it. So it starts to generate thumbnails of all the stuff that you have shot. So you can, within Kyno, you can see everything you've shot without having to move through all the folders. That is quite cool. But what if you have too much stuff? Now the metadata comes in. So, for example, I have tons of interviews in there, and as you can see, I have 1,566 clips that we shot. So let's see. I mean, there's a couple of things in there. They look quite cool. It starts to work and produce all those thumbnails pretty soon. But let us go into one clip, for example. Then I can show you what I mean. Here you can see this is called a bee hut and a Bienenhütte. And we have a lot of people talking about this bee hut in this whole movie. So how can I find all those clips that have to do with bee hut? There's a filter text on the top right, up there to the right, and you can type in Bienen. So what this software does now, it looks through all the metadata, correct? And
Yes.
looks and shows you only the clips that have to do with Bienen, that are tagged bees. What kind of metadata can you look through?
That's file names, tags, descriptions, even time-based metadata like markers or subclips. So it's essentially like a full text search, which is very powerful even if you don't add a lot of metadata, because sometimes it's the file name alone, sometimes it's a description or a tag. So people always have problems with discipline in their team, and enforcing something like everyone uses the same tags sometimes fails. And so if you use the full text approach, you catch like this search term Bienen, whether it is in a description, in a marker, or in a subclip, it just covers it all. So it's a very pragmatic way, but it works very well.
So let us look into one of those clips that are tagged where I found Bienen. So when I go into the clip, I usually see automatically it's like a viewer that shows you all kind of video files. So you don't need a VLC file player anymore, because Kyno itself is one of the most powerful players, showing you MXF, what else? What kind of...
I would say essentially anything that's relevant in professional video, including something like Red RAW. There are only some RAW formats that are missing that we're still working on, but for broadcast formats, well, anything.
So let us see if it plays, if my rate, this is all 4K footage, ungraded. Let me see if that runs. Yeah, so you see it actually plays back the footage, whatever comes in, QuickTime, any raw formats as you just mentioned. And what is the secret now? In this surface here you can see there's all the tags that we can edit. We can put in the camera name. We can put in a rating of how many stars the clip has, how important it is. We can actually add tags So these are all the questions that I have. So what can you tell me about the restaurant? So we can jump in the timeline, and we can also import tags, preset tags. So I say, this is the location where we shot it. This is when we have a transcript done, so I can sort according to all those tags. And what we have up here in the description, what we use this description field as the transcript field. So what can you do, and what makes it the most powerful thing is the subclips. So you can go through the timeline here, and you can actually mark in, mark out, and give the editor a preset list of subclips to use. And the secret is, when you which kind of editing software do you support with meta tags, exporting?
That's Final Cut, Premiere Pro, and Resolve. The integration with Resolve is not as convenient as for Final Cut and Premiere, but that's coming in the next release.
So what we mean is, like, everything that like a director somewhere on holidays in his laptop is going to put in, he can send in a small little file, a text file, to the editor. The editor will import it to his system, and all those subclips actually appear in the editing suite with all the tags imported.
And there you touch on a very important point, because what we try to do with Kyno is produce a software that is not only accessible to very tech-savvy people, because typically editorial staff or directors or production assistants are not all very versed in using NLEs or more complicated types of software. So many of our clients, be it in broadcast or even cinema productions, use Kyno to give to their production assistants or to their directors, because it essentially feels like having something like Windows Explorer or Finder with a professional player integrated, but very easy and straightforward to use. So people who would not be able to use something like Premiere Pro for adding markers are able to use Kyno for logging right off the bat.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing, because if you go in here now and you actually are able to double-click, it will automatically jump to where it will play that subclip. So the stuff that the editor has marked in his software is the stuff that you can see on this surface. It's really cool.
And let me add, if I may, at this point, because it really fits well here, one more aspect of dealing with metadata this way. Because as you know, most NLEs, or essentially all of the NLEs, have their own metadata facilities. And you could argue, and it does make sense, why don't you just do the logging in your NLE? And that might work well in a simple project where you are a vlogger and you produce 10 clips and you edit it all by yourself. But if you get to a point where the project gets larger or you have a team involved, and you might even reuse the footage over multiple editing projects, then this gets very messy. And this way of organizing metadata means that the metadata is always associated with the material, with the source material on your drives, where you store it on your drives. So you automatically create a sort of a stock archive that's searchable and that's well organized by doing the logging before the edit outside of the NLE, and you can use it across projects. What we frequently encounter among our users is, for example, that they have a large project and they get freelancers. And for example, they have the freelancer who does the Instagram clip that works with Final Cut, but the main edit for the TV version is done in Premiere Pro. And so they do the logging just once and send the metadata through Kyno to the respective NLE, and it gets translated to the metadata dialect that this NLE understands, and they can reuse it across projects even once that project is over.
What also worked for us a lot, you know, transcribing interviews is quite a hard job, and you always need to be on timecode. What this software helps you also with is exporting or converting video files with timecode overlays, with LUT overlays even. So you can preview your LUT, for example. These are all kind of flat images because they're not graded. So let's see. This is not great. I mean, this is not a good example for colors. Let's see a different one. Let me take this wonderful lady here. So this is ungraded. There's nothing on there. But what we can do is we can go into here, and you can apply any kind of LUT that comes from DaVinci Resolve, for example, or from all kind of cameras. Let's say what we have Blackmagic, and let's say we have 4K film to 4K film to Rec 709. So, and you automatically have the LUT applied. And now this can be exported with a timecode overlay and made very, very small in the same folder structure that you have original, and you can give a small little hard drive to your director to take on the holiday with him.
Yeah, that is a very efficient workflow. You can do this in an entire batch, as Wolf pointed out, as a dailies workflow in 3 clicks for all your material for the entire shooting day. And the LUT preview, just to be able to play back in real time your material with the LUT applied and show it to the director or the client, that's actually one of the most popular features in Kyno.
And it's very laggy because it's 4K materials and the rate is not really a media rate, it's just a storage rate. So these features are really, really wonderful, and for us it was almost impossible to travel the miles between editing suite and my place and the production office every day to bring the materials. So we decided to just store the materials, render out small little proxies, and send Metadata files that are really small per email to the editor, so we could all work together on the same page. And what is also most powerful is it is not only for shot material, but it is also for graphics and images. So if I select images, then all of a sudden I see all kinds of images appearing. Photoshop, TIFFs, JPEGs, PNGs, everything. It opens up a preview, and that is also very handy for photographers, because if you have an archive and that archive has subfolders and subfolders and subfolders, this way you can tag them and really easily find them. Let's say I type in bus, and then all of a sudden I see from all the 15,000 files, everything that has to do, Blumenbuschen, there's bus in there, but all the photographs that were taken in a bus. Yeah? So, Kyno saved our lives in producing this movie, and for me it was the most practical step, and I'm never gonna do anything else. Even my own hard disks have Kyno on that now. It's very, very efficient to work with that.
Thank you very much for the praise. We just touched, since we're going to close now, we just touched on about 10% of the functionality and 10% of really the problems that it can solve. So we certainly invite you to download the free trial and play around with it and watch some of the videos, and there will be more coverage in the coming weeks. So thank you very much.
One last thing. You never ever will need another file converter. You know, when video files are not playing in one software and the other, Kyno can export and convert any kind of media file for you. That was the coolest for me. Software never works for me. This one actually did. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. I agree. I mean, Kyno, we've discovered you guys a couple of years ago. You approached us. The cool thing is, this is a small team, small startup, so they are very much reacting to our demands. We use Kyno internally for our post-production workflow with reviews. We have an editor sitting in Argentina, so we send him proxy files, he does the edit, and we online the material, and actually the old proxy conversion kind of process has become much easier with Kyno. But as you mentioned, Robert, we will do more content with you guys because it is not easy to explain what it does in a short amount of time. You really have to come from a use case like Wolf did with his production. So thank you guys, and thanks for this session.